Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a viral video that's making some pretty huge claims. We're talking about the idea that top neuroscientists have basically found a God antenna inside the human brain. The video says this confirms what ancient religions have been talking about for, well, millennia. So yeah, let's break this thing down.
So this video, it really doesn't pull any punches. Right from the get-go, it drops this bombshell statement that's clearly meant to frame this as science versus, well, science. I mean, wow, they're setting this up as this huge revolutionary moment where science finally proves faith was right all along.
So you gotta ask, right? What is this supposed discovery? What's the game changer that has everyone so worked up?
Okay, so the whole argument, the entire foundation of this video seems to hang on this one pretty shocking admission. They attribute it to a really well-known neuroscientist from Stanford, and they present it like it's the smoking gun.
And here's the quote they use, supposedly from Dr. Andrew Huberman. I mean, that's presented as the definitive proof right there. The implication is crystal clear. A top scientist is saying his brain isn't the source of his thoughts, it's just receiving them from God.
That quote is the jumping-off point for the central idea of the whole video. They call it the brain as an antenna theory. And the argument is basically that we've had it all wrong this whole time. The brain isn't making consciousness, it's just tuning into it. Kind of like how a radio tunes into a station that's already broadcasting.
So here you can really see the two ideas next to each other. On one hand, you've got the old model, the brain as a generator. You know, consciousness is just what happens when all our complex neurons fire. But this new model they're proposing? It's the brain as a receiver. Consciousness is this fundamental field that's just out there, and our brain is the hardware we use to tap into it.
Okay, so how on earth do they try to back up such a radical idea? Well, they bring in what they call scientific evidence, and they pull from a bunch of different research fields to do it.
And they really throw the kitchen sink at you here. We're talking MRI studies, quantum physics, research on near-death experiences, neuroplasticity, you name it. It feels like the strategy is to create this feeling of overwhelming scientific support. Like, look, the evidence is coming from everywhere.
Now, this is a really key part of their proof. The video claims that these studies actually show consciousness activity happening before the brain activity that's supposed to create it. Think about that for a second. The implication is wild. It's like the signal of a thought arrives from the outside before our own brain even starts to process it.
So once they've laid out all this science, the video takes this really interesting pivot. It starts arguing that this so-called new discovery isn't new at all. They say it's actually ancient wisdom that's been hiding in plain sight in religious texts all along. For example, they take that famous line, "In the beginning was the Word," and they just completely reinterpret it. They argue the word isn't about sound. No, they say it's a metaphor for a universal field of consciousness, the very same field they claim quantum physics is just now discovering.
And they do the same thing with the phrase, "the kingdom of heaven is within you." They reframe it. It's not just a nice metaphor for being at peace with yourself. Nope. According to them, it's a literal instruction manual. It means the ability to tune your brain's antenna into this universal consciousness is hardwired into your very being.
This whole reinterpretation thing even extends to prayer. The video basically suggests that prayer isn't just wishful thinking. They frame it as a type of quantum technology. It's a way you can literally use your consciousness to interface with the creative force of the universe and actually make measurable changes in the real world. Pretty bold claim.
Then, something interesting happens. The tone of the video shifts. The AI voice that's been narrating disappears, and the actual creator of the channel, a woman named Julia McCoy, comes on screen, and she's there to explain the personal philosophy that's really behind this whole thing.
This is where it all clicks into place. You start to see the why behind the video. All these claims about science and faith, they're not just random ideas. They're all building towards a much bigger, personal worldview about what it means to be human.
And at the heart of her philosophy is this key difference she talks about: human doing versus human being. She argues that society has basically trained us all to be human doings, where our value is all tied up in what we produce, our jobs, our productivity. But she believes our true nature is to just be human beings, where our value is built in, It doesn't depend on what we do or make.
And this is the belief system that really connects all the dots. The idea that we were made in the image of a creator, that each of us has a purpose as unique as our fingerprint, and that purpose, it has nothing to do with what she calls machine work. It's all about embracing what it actually means to be human. So this is where it all gets super relevant to today. She connects all these deep spiritual ideas directly to the rise of artificial intelligence. But here's the twist. Instead of seeing AI as some kind of threat, she actually sees it as our salvation.
And that's really the big reveal, right? Especially since she's a creator who specializes in AI. Her argument is that AI is going to take over all the doing, all the machine work, and that's going to free up humanity, maybe for the first time ever, to just focus on being.
And to show that this isn't just some pipe dream, she points to her own life as proof. She claims that she runs a 7-figure business but only works less than 3 hours a week, all because she's using AI and automation. For her, this is the real-world evidence that this new way of living is actually possible.
She uses that classic spiritual saying, "We are not bodies with souls, we are souls with bodies," to kind of anchor her whole philosophy. It's the perfect summary of her core idea, that we're fundamentally spiritual beings, just having a temporary human experience.
So when you boil it all down, this is the big takeaway the video wants you to have. It's a message of hope, really, that you're not just some random accident in a meaningless universe, that you're a spiritual being connected to something bigger, and maybe most importantly, that science isn't destroying faith, it's actually just now starting to catch up to it.
And in the end, the source leaves us with this really big, thought-provoking question. If science and faith are actually converging, what could that mean for the future of who we are and what our purpose is? You know, as our technology gets more and more advanced and these spiritual ideas get a new spotlight, are we on the verge of some huge shift in human consciousness? Or are we just finding new high-tech ways to ask the same old questions we've been asking forever? That's the question the video leaves hanging in the air.